Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. This is my Freebie Friday series, and today it's on a Wednesday because of scheduling. Once a month I offer free cut files and free scrapbook sketches for you to download and use for your own crafty world. And this month, along with my free cut file, I am also doing a bit of a Cricut tutorial on the slice feature and a couple of things that you can use it for. Alright, here's the cut file I have for you as a freebie this month, and I have a bonus cut file at the end of the video if you stay tuned for that. I did pull it off my mat already because I wanted to show you some things about this style of cut file. So I'm going to go ahead and take away my backing piece, and oops, I did misalign everything. So if you'll notice, when you take all of these layers off of your mat, you have various pieces. So now you can use THANKFUL. You can certainly, oh, I missed the H. You can certainly use all of that as a bit to a project. Don't forget that you have this inner part to the letter A, which you can either leave that inner part blank or you can just glue it into place and make sure your A is filled in. I'm going to save these letters and show you another way to get these letters cut into individual colors of pattern paper so that you can infill these letters in interesting different pattern papers, which is a very common and popular style these days. I wanted to show you one handy tip if you don't already know this. I have got my Cricut canvas open already, and here is the design that I have on my canvas. Now, while I'm going to specifically show you the buttons and places to click in Cricut, the same process should be available in other software. I'm going to first choose a shape to draw, and I'm just going to choose a square. And with Cricut, it just chooses a square for you. I am going to click on it so that my little menu goes away. I'm going to click this unlock button, and what that allows me to do is to drag and resize it any way I want. So here is my shape. I am going to unlock it again. I'm going to change the color just so it has more contrast to it than our word does. I'm going to align it so that it's going to completely cover up this image. There we go. Now I can no longer see my image in the background. I'm going to go up here to the Arrange menu, and I'm going to send it to the back. So now we've got our word in front and our block in the back. And then I'm going to go ahead and click outside of that so nothing is selected. And if I click and drag, then I'm going to select everything all at once. And in the Cricut, this slice function is the one we're going to use for this technique. So I'm going to go ahead and slice. Okay, it doesn't look like much happened, but if I click back on this individual word, I can pull this away from the image back here, and now you'll see we've got these outlines going on. And if I click on this, so now I've got this kind of sign looking piece, and that piece actually has the portions that I'm looking for. So this is connected. I'm going to come down into this menu option down here in the bottom right corner called Contour. And when I click on that, it brings up another area. So this is all of the bits and pieces of this image that make it up. So I want to shut off some of these bits and pieces. I want to shut that one off. I want to shut that one off. And basically what I'm trying to do here is just keep all of the letters. So anything that is not a letter. Now this piece is the inside of the letter A. We want to leave that one. This piece can get shut off. This piece, that is a further layer inside the letter A. We don't need that one. So with all of the pieces hidden, it's called hide contour. With all those pieces hidden that we don't want, if I click back out of here, there we go. It took a minute to think. Now we are left with just the letters. I'm going to take this whole entire image, which is all these letters kind of stuck together as one image, and Cricut doesn't have an easy way to erase bits and pieces. So what I'm going to have to do is come over here to the shape tool again. I'm going to create another shape, and again I am going to change the contrast here so we can see these shapes a little bit better. I'm going to cover up, using this shape, all of the letters that I no longer wish to see. And then again, I'm going to click outside of everything so that nothing is selected. And I'm going to drag so that I select just the two items that I want, which is the letter image and this square image. And I'm going to go ahead and slice again. And then when I click back over here, it does need to think. When I sliced over here, now I've got this part which I no longer need, so I'm just going to delete that. And this green bit is now much like the original word. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because we no longer need that. Now this part is officially detached from the letter T, which is what we're trying to go for here. And the reason we want to do that is so that we can cut each individual letter out of its own pattern paper. Now I will often design my cut files to have those pieces all ready to go for you. However, I wanted to show you this technique in case you're working with anyone's cut files. This is something that you can do on your own. What I'm going to do is repeat that process, and let me show you again. So I've got my square, which I'm going to change colors. I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to drag it over. I am right now just going to split apart the top row of letters from the bottom row of letters. Click out, drag and select, come down here to slice, wait for it to think, and there we go. We've got our slices. Okay, I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to delete that one. And now this one is disconnected. So if we continue with this process, I'm just going to zoom through this and I'll speed you up. All right, now that whole process is a little long and convoluted, and that is a Cricut thing. Other software is much easier to do this, as they have kind of scissor or knife kind of functions where you can just cut in between bits and pieces of the image. Cricut doesn't let us do that, and that is one of my biggest complaints about this software. However, it is workable and you can get it done. So if you find that you're working with an image that you need to do something along these lines, then you can do this. And the reason I want to do this is because when I go to make this project, anything that is in separate colors will divide automatically on the Cricut software into separate mats so that you can have your mat, put your appropriately colored paper on it, run it through your machine, and you're going to cut that layer in that color. However, that can be time consuming if you have all of these letters. But what I can do is move these around on this cut display, and I'm going to line them up inside of these grids so that I have this H will sit nicely inside of between 12 and 9 inches by 1 and 3 inches tall. So that is a 3 by 3 inch square. And I'm going to get every letter to do that exact same thing so that it can sit inside of its own 3 by 3 inch square. Just make sure you have a little bit of space in between each letter, because the Cricut doesn't always cut exactly. Like if I say that I line this U up on this 1 inch mark, when you put your physical mat into the machine, it gets pretty close to this digital representation, but not always exactly. So I'm going to leave plenty of space in between these things, and both the top and the bottom, so that when I cut these 3 inch squares of scrap pattern paper, I can lay them on my mat as if each one of these letters were on its own separate mat. Now let me go ahead and go overhead and show you exactly what I mean by that. Okay, I have my mat set up here, and I pulled in, these were the cutouts that were left over when I cut the main word that you saw me do earlier. And these are not necessary because you can just look at your digital mat and line up your pieces where they go. For instance, when I looked at my digital mat on the T, I noticed that the T started underneath the number 4, and it was to the left of the 6. So I put my 3-inch block in between those grid points, and I set up all of my blocks that way. Now I was careful to pay attention to the directionality of the print. So if it was a vertical print versus a horizontal print, something like wood grain could go either direction, so decide which direction you want. This piece was a little small, but I wanted to use it anyway, and it's hard to see on screen, but it's got a very subtle zigzag print to it, and I would have liked the zigzag to go, well, let's see, could it go that way? That's why this is kind of helpful. Now, it can be a little close because while the digital map, so to speak, of where the letters are going to cut can be very close to the physical mat, it's not always exact. So if you anticipate this letter to cut, say right here, it might end up cutting like that, and you could end up cutting off bits and pieces. So I do think this print will work better this way because, as you can see, I have more border all the way around for cut error, so to speak. So I think that's a better fit. Now, I do not like how a couple of these are coming out. The T, for example, isn't matching up to much of this pattern, so I'm going to lose a lot of that. Unless on my digital map, I move it over a little bit so that it might catch more. So there we go. If I moved it over a little bit so that the edge of the T is close to the 7 line, and this side of the T is close to the 8 line, that's probably going to get me some flowers. Now, as for the top of the T, if it were way down here, that's not going to work. So I want it kind of in between the 4 and the 5. So I'm going to go adjust that on my digital mat. And again, this is just an estimate, so this might not work out how I want it to be. In terms of this K, I think I want it to kind of sit right about there so that I can get the grain lines of this wood grain, or maybe, I think if I set it there, that gives me a little bit more of that kind of wiggle room that I'm talking about. So I'm going to adjust this on my cutting mat and this one on my cutting mat. I will cut my final 3 by 3 inch block, and as you notice, I'm paying attention to the grid lines that create that block around that entire letter, and I'll get in there. Oh wait, you know what? I'm glad I noticed that because I was going to go for a pink tone since this is only the only pink I have going on. So let me pause. I'll find another pink for this. I'll adjust my 2 letters, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like when I actually have them cut out. Okay, I am back with my Cricut mat, and I've got all of my pieces here for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and peel away these excess pattern papers, and so far it looks like everything cut without any issues. And also my T did manage to get onto that little bit of pattern that I was hoping to capture. And my letter A, with these bigger patterns, it can be a little hard to tell, but I think I got enough of that visible there. And then here is the other pink. I came up with my letter F. So everything is looking good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a sheet of cardstock. Say hi to my kitty. Okay, kitty, out of the way. I know you like to scrapbook with me. Come here, you. So I'm going to put this on here, and we're going to fill in each of these letters. So I've got my U. Now, of course, you would want to glue these down, but since I'm going to do a little bit more with this project, I'm not ready to glue it yet. I just wanted to show you this technique in case you have cut files, and in this case I didn't include the extra inners. I don't know if there's an official term for that, but I'm going to call them innards from now on. I did not include the extra innards as separate cut pieces, so if you want to cut them this way, you'll have to use that technique. And now that I'm saying it, I'm feeling a little guilty about not including them this time around, but I'm giving you a skill that you can use on other patterns or other cut files from other designers that you can use in the future. Now I am thinking about what happened to the inner part of my A, because there it is, because I do like having, it feels more complete to me that way when I've got the innards, and especially when you're doing this style of slicing your images. That's what it's called in the Cricut. It's called other things in other software. You're going to end up with that inside of the A and not a solid piece in there that would fill in the entirety of this A. So this extra inner bit of the A makes sense. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more with this layout, including, I will show you the cut file does include extra leaves that you can cut and add to this project either over the top or in addition to. I'm going to do a little bit more to this, and I'll come back and show you the final results of what I did, and then you can go download these cut files and use them for yourself. Alright, I'm back. I just did a super quickie watercolor background, and there's nothing fancy about this. I just slopped color on there. I concentrated darker color in the middle, and I overlapped lighter colors. I chose colors based on my pattern papers. And then I am going to mostly cover this up, so you're not going to see a lot of that. Well, I guess there's a pretty good amount. And these are the extra leaves that are a part of the cut file, so you can certainly cut the extras out of the same paper, or you can cut them out of other papers. You can layer them up if you like so. This one has a little more pattern to it. You can layer them up if you like. You can offset them, as I just discovered there. Oh, you know what? For contrasty's sake, I actually might reverse those two, and I kind of like the offset a little bit, so I'm going to do that. I'm not going to glue anything down yet because I might want to do more things with this cut file. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring in the letters that we cut out earlier so you can see kind of the final. Oh, I'm missing the middle of my A, but it's around here somewhere. All right, so that is my final design. And of course, we haven't had Thanksgiving here in the US, so I'm going to save this layout, and I'm going to choose a few 3 to 4 very small prints to frame top and bottom with this layout. And hopefully at the end of November, I will come back and show you how everything came out when all was said and done. So that is the main cut file for this month. I also have a sketch file for you because every month I create a cut file as well as a scrapbook layout sketch file. So that file is here, and I'll just give you a quick peek of that and let you know that on Friday I am actually using this sketch to create a layout. Honestly, what I usually do is I create my layout and then I create the sketch file to go with it. So that is my process. But this sketch file is available for download on my blog at craftysoup.com/freebies, and I will leave a direct link for you in the show description so you can just click your way over there. And then let me tell you about the bonus cut file. The bonus cut file is here for you because I couldn't decide between a Halloween cut file or a Thanksgiving cut file, so I decided to do both. And just like the Thankful cut file that has extra leaves to it, the Bat cut file has extra bats to it, so you can cut those independently. You can layer them up size-wise on top of your background, whatever your imagination goes with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some tips on using the slice feature on your Cricut. I hope you enjoy these freebie downloads, and I would love to see what you create with them. So if you tag me on Instagram with the hashtag CraftySoupShares, I will be sure to follow that hashtag so that I can see your work. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.